Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Championship Check-In podcast. And Sam, we are focused in on a triple public apology. If you don't know what that is, in our predictions, if we predict someone to lose, both of us, and they go on to win, we hold our hands up. And we like to think that's a surprise because in theory we know what we were talking about. But we said Wrexham, Sheffield Wednesday and Oxford were going to be losing this round 6 in the Championship, Sam, and they all went away and won. Are we saying surprise results, or are we just a bit hopeless on the predictions this week?
I'm feeling like quoting, is it Conor McGregor? I'm sorry for absolutely nothing, or whatever he said. No, I'm not apologising to anyone, mate. I think this was, a bit of a bizarre week, wasn't it? I'm trying to caveat the fact that we were... Weather? No, I'm just trying to caveat the fact that we were useless in the predictions by saying it was a bit of an odd week in terms of outcomes. I think you look at all three of these matches. Yeah, I would have anticipated Carrow Road having loads of goals. I think I went 3-2 Norwich in
Wrong
that
way
one.
round.
Yeah, but yeah, you would have had... I don't know, I suppose that was a bit of a 50-50 game. You certainly would have had Pompey beating Sheffield Wednesday at home, and on current form, Bristol City against Oxford would have been a home win for probably 75%. So just one of those crazy weeks in the Championship. Going a little bit off-piste here, but all relegated sides either beaten or obviously held at the weekend as well. So it just shows you the strength of the division and the unpredictable nature. I think that we're in for this year. I think kind of safely say that now. Not to say that we might still get a strong front runner in the next month or two, but as it currently stands, feels like it's going to be a really exciting season with, a lot of teams jostling for the promotion positions and playoff picture.
Agree. And the comparison we always make to Southampton starting badly under Russ Martin, it's literally right now is where they pick up, and you just can't see that from any of the three parachute teams. But it's not about them today, Sam. We'll do Wrexham first, then Wednesday, then Oxford. Just quickly, obviously with your ex-Ipswich player hat on and my Ipswich fan hat on, I've been asked many, many times about players being led off the pitch at minute 79 in rain with the ball sticking on the pitch. Did you ever get pulled out of a game, kind of quite a long way into it for rain?
No, I didn't know. I remember a few floodlight failures and sitting in the dressing room until the dead of the night, the early mornings, and getting wheeled back out. I do remember an Ipswich game, actually. Delayed start. I remember being back in the dressing room. I think it could have been one of my first games, actually, being in there. And I remember Jim Magilton, unsurprisingly, ripping some, what's the phrase? Tearing into Fabian Vilnius anyway about something or another. And obviously those two went back many a year, so probably water off a duck's back for lovely Fab, as he was. Great guy. I remember that. I can't remember exactly why, but not weather. So yeah, that is strange. Do you know the ruling? Because we discussed it a little bit on Final Score at the weekend.
Well, do you remember when we were at ITV, Sam, and it was Ipswich as well, wasn't it? And the fog at Oxford, and there was some like old wives' tale that the ref had come out about minute 75 that turned out to just be complete nonsense, and it's literally just down to the jurisdiction of the EFL. What's your take on it?
No, I'm quite keen. Yeah, I'm quite keen for Ipswich to turn up and play out the last 20 minutes with 10 men and
Stop it.
The Blackburn groundsman to soak
Water
it
the pitch
just to the point. Just to the point where it's playable. I'd quite enjoy to see that. But obviously, the problem is you'll have different players available. What have you?
If I may, Sam, it's just hugely bad luck. In this situation, it's bad luck for whoever's winning. I don't think you, especially when there's 10 men as well for the team.
I've firmly got my tongue in cheek. It's awfully bad luck, especially when they had the man advantage, so they're just gonna have to swallow it and get on with it in the middle of what will it be? Who knows? Middle of November or something.
Yeah, I think the silly thing is everyone tries to fall over themselves trying to make it quote fair, but like literally at the top of the laws of football, a game lasts 90 minutes and it's played 2 45-minute halves. And, you can't eight bits down the line take that away. But there you go. What I found over the weekend, Sam, is it's very difficult to have a non-partisan debate about this because people's interest. And then what tends to happen is if you flip the scenario around, certain people's opinions flip around 180, which straight away you're not having a good faith debate. Anyway, we're not supposed to be talking about these teams. Let's start with Wrexham, Sam. And I mean, the first question I've got for you is I put a shout out to hear about Wrexham. And I got mainly Norwich fans saying, yeah, okay, Ben, Wrexham were all right. Norwich were terrible and lots of boos there. So we're going to praise Wrexham. But is this one where they took advantage of a bit of a flappy, flaky Norwich, particularly second half performance?
Yeah, I think my sentiment would be pretty good game for Wrexham when people are starting to ask questions of them and of Phil Parkinson, purely down to statistically they're giving up so many chances. Norwich, we know that, after 28 attempts from Coventry and only managing to scramble one in the last knock into that game. So defensively they're flimsy, they're too easy to play through, they're disjointed. We knew all that going into the game, and it was a continuing theme throughout this. I think it's a team who lack, at the moment, Norwich, clearly belief at Carrow Road. That's 4 straight defeats, conceded 10 goals. That's problematic because the majority of your supporters, as I very well know from playing in East Anglia, if you don't do the business in front of your home supporters, that magnifies quickly. So I heard the boos, which was still a little bit surprising to me, given that it's still
Sam, they don't suffer fools gladly there.
Yeah, that's because, like Ipswich, historical clubs, brilliant history, very, very ardent, loyal supporters because of the geographical circumstances. Well, they are goldfish bowls, aren't they? Is that the right terminology?
Yeah, I mean, and one club in each county, of course, as well.
So yeah. I always say it about it's different because it's a different size place, and obviously I felt the difference, the contrast when I went from Swindon to Ipswich. But Swindon was similar in that you get in a cab, everyone has got an idea of what's going on at the football club, and everyone knows who the manager is and knows if they're going well, if they're going poorly. That's magnified when you go to Ipswich, and probably again when you go to Norwich. So yeah, the supporters won't accept losing frequently, especially in the second tier. I think there's some good individual performances, and I think the supporters could probably say the goalkeeper, Harry Darling, there's one or two others who have done quite well. Topic, Chris Garden's had a okay start. You know what I mean? But I think the collective is just struggling to find that chemistry. And
Sam, a big red flag, sorry to interrupt, mate, is when you get the flurry of goals. I think you've spoken about this before, this idea of, resilient teams. One goal doesn't lead to another, and that's a big red flag, 3 in 13 minutes as well, isn't it?
Yeah, responding to knocks. So that's a problem as well. But yeah, I think mainly, which will be in keeping with a lot of my thoughts right now about some of the bigger teams in the division who are suffering, it just takes a little bit of time, and you have to trust that they're going to get a little bit more collective strength in the weeks ahead when they've worked with the manager and worked with each other for a prolonged period. But yeah, they look disjointed in comparison to Wrexham, who were very, very different to some of the more recent performances for their standards in a positive way, but they do the nuts and bolts of football really well, Wrexham, and that will not change. They know who they are, their identity, they know where their strength is. What Phil Parkinson did really well at the weekend, and I think you could rewind to our conversation maybe last week or the week before. He's rolled the dice, he's recognised the weaknesses of the last few weeks, and he's made multiple changes. He's brought in Hyam for Cody. Obviously, that was a change that probably had to be made after Connor Cody's
especially playing
lackluster.
against Sargent.
Yeah, displaying. Yeah, he said that he identified that Parkinson. Ben Sheaf, I mean, he played one absolutely sumptuous ball from left to right to set off Kabore. Kabore's got 2 assists. He's added that sprightliness, that pace that's been evidently lacking in Wrexham's lineup. And the icing on top of the cake, Windass gets 2 brilliant goals, second one in particular. So
Windass hasn't started, Sam, since the... or hasn't... Yeah, so he started the second game and came out injured. Is that
right? Yeah. So basically, you've got a really strong squad at your disposal. You've not performed particularly well the last few weeks, and he's made multiple changes. Probably a lot of the changes that the supporters were crying out for, and that shows adaptability and flexibility. Nothing will change probably too much about the style, but he's got a good squad there, and he's utilised it, and he's probably stumbled or found a formula which should see their results pick up, because they look like a different entity at the weekend. Still giving away too many chances, we know that. But I think with Hyam, 1 or 2 others, Sheaf, they should improve in that regard. So onwards and upwards, I would maybe suggest for Wrexham from here.
Yeah, brilliant. Derby, Leicester, Birmingham. We've got a first 3-game week coming up. To be fair, they're at home to Reading in the EFL Cup as well, so they might look upon that as a momentum thing. But get your thoughts in on Wrexham. Great win for them. Pompey 0, Sheffield Wednesday 2, Sam. And I'm going to ask a very cantankerous question to start. Sam Parkin in his prime, in the channel, running through. Defender gets ahead because it's not a great ball down the line. Goes down injured. Are you running through and sticking that in the net? Is your manager shouting at you if you don't? Because, okay, we'll talk about a brilliant first goal for Sheffield Wednesday, but a pretty unique situation.
It was. I don't think there's any manager on the planet who wouldn't want you to fulfill your duty in that scenario. So you're going to be putting yourself in a position when you're going to get absolutely lambasted by your manager if you did kick the ball out or stop. And I think, having watched it back a couple of times, he clearly recognises or can recognise that it's a muscular injury. You know, probably it's a hamstring or it's a calf or it's a groin, and therefore I think he's completely within his rights, George Brown, to continue and stick it in. We had the conversation off air. You know, if it was in the middle of the pitch and one team had possession and someone goes down with something which looks quite sinister, and we've seen examples of this, I don't need to go there, what I'm talking about, but if someone collapses, then of course it's on the referee to stop it, and you hope he would do. If not, then the team in possession, the attacking team, would therefore have to put the ball out or what have you, and then that would be a different conversation completely. But no, in this scenario, you know, George Brown will know that Shaughnessy's pulled up because of a leg injury. That's just terrible bad luck. And it's been bad luck, I think, for centre halves for a few seasons at Portsmouth. We've spoken about Shaughnessy and Regan.
Well, it stopped the entire start of last season, didn't it?
Yeah, and I think those two are such a solid foundation in getting out of League One, and I think they hope that those two could make the transition into the Championship, and it's been a bit disjointed because of injury, because of loss of form. But no, I haven't got any qualms with the young lad sticking it away. I watched his whole interview, actually, because it was quite encapsulating. Seemed like a lovely young man, and again, another young player at Sheffield Wednesday getting an opportunity which they ordinarily wouldn't have had because of the situation if it hadn't presented itself. So we've got him. We got Ernie Weaver, who played at centre half for Sheffield Wednesday, who was a difference maker by all accounts. Allowed Iorfa to play right centre back. Valerie was playing in central midfield in this game. I noted as well. So a bit of a reshuffle. Spent a lot of time without the ball.
Well, can I just read you a comment? This is from Ben on YouTube, Sam. Stars aligned for Wednesday. We're not going to win many with 30% possession unless we score first every week. Can we play away every week? Never going to win at home with the current and rightful toxicity least we're above the other lot for one more week. There's a few good points in there, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the possession one's interesting. I suppose you're playing against a team in Pompey who are really comfortable in their own skin, going away from home as well. They're unbeaten on the road, Portsmouth, which accentuates that. They're happy sitting in, and in Murphy, they got an outlet who can carry the ball up the pitch, and you got an outlet that you can hit Bishop as well quite early, and he's the best in the business. So they can really get on top of you, Portsmouth, and also they can really hurt you as a counter-attacking team. When you're sitting in maybe against them and there's no space behind for Murphy and you're asking them to have a little bit of guile. Yes, they've got Chaplin, but, I think they prefer to play when it's a bit more open, fair, and there's a bit more space to exploit. So maybe it was a bit of a kryptonite for them at the weekend. But full credit to Sheffield Wednesday, those two young players that I mentioned. Bannon's free kick, not really too sure about the goalkeeping. I know that's the deputy, isn't it?
Give him the eyes there, Sam.
He has, but it's his side, isn't it? I think, and it doesn't go in the top corner, does it? It doesn't go in with loads of pace. I'm not sure about the goalkeeper then. I'm not sure about the goalkeeper on the second either. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh, but it's quite central to finish from Brown. But obviously that's the second choice in there now after the goalkeeper broke his hand or his wrist or whatever at St Mary's last week. So no goalkeeper, Schmidt, no Murphy. That significantly weakens Pompey, and Sheffield Wednesday took full advantage.
Yeah, and just to close out on Wednesday, Sam, I know it's only 6 games, but 1 point off survival. And I said in the hot takes, give Sheffield Wednesday fans any round, 10, 20, 30, 40, they would have taken 1 point off survival, wouldn't they, before the season?
Absolutely. And they would have been delighted to hear that Sheffield United were going to be bringing up their rear, wouldn't they? So, it's been a really testing couple of months for them. But, huge reason for optimism, especially, a lot of these young lads, Cadamarteri and Brown in attack. I think, reason for a little bit of optimism moving forward. But let's not kid ourselves. It's going to be a long and dark winter unless they get some positive news coming out of the club.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Just really quickly, Sam, because we've spoken loads about Sheffield United. You were doing final score at the weekend. To be fair, your 6 defeat theory, you cashed in on that last week, didn't you? Because it was 5 in a row that was the P45 coming for Ruben Selles. But did you have a bit of a sense as that, as that was unfolding that, they're going to get a chance and they're going to score here, Charlton? Was it feeling that way for Sheffield United?
What did I have? Did I have it down as a 1-1?
Yeah, you were braver than me, mate. I went 1-0 Sheffield United. I think I even said Harmer would score the goal. You said 1-1.
Yeah, I think with it 0-0, evenly poised with 10-15 to go, I probably thought that Bramall Lane would have the power to maybe find the winning goal. But then when you reflect on the 90 minutes and, I've read up and watched what I can, it sounds like Charlton were really good value for it. And did it surprise me? No, absolutely not. When I was asked at the top of the show, or when we spoke about the Chris Wilder decision on Saturday, I said, this is a horrible game for him. Horrible game for him, because
good
Charlton...
point.
Similarly to what I just said about Norwich Wrexham, Norwich, I've no idea what they are yet. Sheffield United, I've got an idea what they may become under Chris Wilder, but right now, I've no idea what they are. They're probably stuck somewhere between what they were under Ruben Selles and Chris Wilder. Players hugely low on confidence, misfire in attack. So they went into this game against a Charlton team who have been under the tutelage of Nathan Jones for 18 months or so now, who are brilliant without the ball, brilliant at set pieces, defend their box brilliantly, counter with invention and pace, and one of those guys.
Added a load of very specific Nathan Jones players who are better than the ones they already had. Yeah. So they're looking good, Charlton, aren't they?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, goal scoring is going to be the problem for them because they've stepped up from League One to the Championship. Matty Godden's been sidelined, who's their sure thing in terms of probably he'd be good for another dozen, wouldn't he? Probably Godden if he did a whole season. So Kelman, Alafe, Leeburn, Tyrese Campbell, all really talented lads. Not to say that one or two of them could go on and become Premier League players, maybe. Or I would hedge my bets there. I would say two out of those four will probably become Premier League players at some stage of their careers. But it's not
Campbell and Leeburn.
Probably, yeah. Although, you never know. Some of these players grow, don't they? You get in your 20s and you join the right club who are on the upward trajectory. You get there by a bit of good fortune. Look at some of the lads at Burnley, for example, who went up with them, or Bournemouth, who went up with them and all of a sudden played hundreds of games in the Premier League. It can happen. So they have their own threats. They're not going to be full of goals, Charlton, but I think the way they're set up gives them the ability to go toe-to-toe with the best squads in the division, because they're not easy to score against themselves. So I wasn't surprised at all that Charlton won there. But yeah, going back to the start of the conversation, going into the last 10 minutes, I felt maybe it was just, aligned the stars for Sheffield United to win on Wilder's comeback game. But yeah, they will improve. Of course they will. Will it happen overnight? Probably not. And they'll probably need a 1-0, maybe a game in the balance to just get them going. And it'll potentially come in the next couple of weeks. But I'm sure Chris Wilder's going to get a tune out of them in time.
Well, because there's only ever 1 degree of the separation in the Championship, they've got to go to Oxford for their next game, which, and I want to take this away from Sheffield United and towards Oxford. But if you remember the horrible week, I believe, started with a defeat at Oxford. That the whole reason Sheffield United are still in the Championship right now are one of the main reasons. But look, we've got to talk about Oxford, the third leg of the public apology. Bristol City all set up. They only needed a draw to go into second place, and a superb performance by Oxford. I'll read your comment here. This is Zed Simo on YouTube, Sam. Is the way Oxford are playing this season putting to bed the idea of Rowett ball? Whilst the goals today came from set pieces, the style of play was composed counter-attacking football rather than the hit and hope style of last season. Also, a word on the new signings at Oxford, particularly De Keersmaker, who ran the midfield today. Good set play taker as well, isn't he? They have raised the standard across the squad. Brilliant win for your mate Gary at really informed Bristol City.
Yeah, no, I really like Gary. Couldn't have been nicer when we were working together in the media a little bit last season or just prior to him getting the Oxford job. So, and he gets pigeonholed, doesn't he, in terms of what type of manager he is, and a very successful one at that, and being a really good defensive side and organising units. Absolutely. I felt, given what he did last year and how it became a little bit squeaky bum towards the end of the campaign, they were going to have to evolve, and they were going to have to be a little bit more expansive this year. And the signings seem to be in tandem with that.
Sam, sorry to interrupt. He said in his post-match, in a lot of the good results last year, they had to hang in there and make defensive subs in the last 15. So completely aligns with what you just said.
Yeah, and it's one thing him having a kind of a switch or a slight change in his mindset and his tactical setup, but it has to be aligned with the people that are signing the players at the club. Yep. So to see the Keersmaker produce like that, I mean, he looks at the moment like he could walk into any Championship side. I mean, maybe this is me just being a bit of a wrong-un, but I preferred the first goal. That's, the header, the diving header. I mean, that
you would have preferred to score that, wouldn't you?
I mean, that to me was just...
and that was Prelik's debut or first start, was it?
First start, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a beautiful ball in. He's completely unmarked, unmarshalled, but the header, the thumping header, when you see that travelling towards you and you meet it like that, there was no better feeling for me. As good as Plaqueta's goal was as well for the second.
What about Mehmeti's, by the way, as well for Bristol City? Crikey, yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's when it goes in off the crossbar, pinball effect. I love that. And then another brilliant ball in from the aforementioned De Keersmaker for the third as well. So
does Greg Lee even touch that?
I don't think so. I saw a
Greg Lee's a cult hero at Ipswich, by the way, so I'm giving him the goal, yeah.
I saw a tweet from Oxford saying that potentially it brushed him, but no, not for me. So, yeah, midfield played different class, wide played different class, Will Lancashire different class up front. He looks very mature for such a young lad playing that role, and you know it's not something that sometimes happens overnight, even for kind of the big old-fashioned looking centre forward. You learn that position over time. You learn the importance of keeping the ball in the final third, of winning throws, of winning free kicks, of keeping hold of the ball for your side. He looks incredibly mature for someone so young. Could have had another goal himself. I think he actually felt he'd scored. He swept a kind of cross towards goal, and it was just parried to safety. So, yeah, this is kind of in keeping with what my thought process has been about Oxford across the last kind of 2-3 weeks, that, you know, the type of player they're signing, the type of pace they've got in the team, it's probably not going to be enough for them to be going into March, April next year, needing a few home 1-0 victories to remain in the division. I think the aims seem greater than that. And what a brilliant way to start winning games this season and winning 3-1 at Ashton Gate, a team that were going really well.
So, I don't want to paraphrase you or incorrectly paraphrase you. Are you kind of saying, well, the Sheffield Wednesday, group all these 3 wins together, the Sheffield Wednesday won, great, take the circumstances, get it done, but problems are deeper. But particularly with Wrexham and Oxford, is there a bit of a sense now at the back end of September that you... And I constantly, every show, moan about the transfer window closing on, August 30th or whenever it was, September the 1st. But is it a bit of a sense that they've now actually got their 25, 26 teams on the pitch, and Gary Rowett and Phil Parkinson, you almost kind of give them a little bit of a pass for the poor starts?
I think so. They have to show a little bit more consistency now and probably put 4 or 5 matches together with a decent level of performance. I think Oxford, in truth, have kind of done that. They've played well.
Leicester as well, yeah.
Coventry, they were okay. Leicester, they played really well for 45 minutes, and then they put together a pretty complete performance there. So they feel like they've turned a corner. Yeah, I'd probably want to just wait and see what Wrexham turns up in the next game. But, you know, with some of those individuals that I've mentioned, the level that they've been operating at, obviously Kabore, the potential that he's got, and then Sheff, Hyam, Windass, ready-made top championship players to go in there to add a little bit of maturity and a bit of nous. I would be very surprised if Wrexham's performances and results do not improve in the short term. And I think Oxford are probably there already in terms of their last 2.5 games. So, yeah, I don't think I could be in a position now to say that they're both going to be comfortably away from the bottom 3, but I would be surprised if either of these sides get relegated. I can say that strongly enough this morning.
And just to round the whole show out, to go to your point about the Championship being variously bonkers. So we are in a situation where in the bottom half of the table, Sam, Sheffield United, Derby, Southampton, Ipswich, Wrexham, Norwich. In the top half of the table, Pompey, Charlton, QPR, Preston. I'm going to say Bristol City, they're finishing the playoffs. Stoke. So at the moment, you've got teams that it's kind of all switched around at the moment, and that could all switch back, couldn't it?
Yeah, nothing's decided. We're not anywhere into the season at all to make any big statements. I would say, I think Preston are the team, again, we spoke of this last week, Preston are the team that have surprised the most, and they deserve, of all the victories at the weekend, I probably underlined that as the most impressive. And I know it's against Derby where it was going to be low scoring, it was going to be nip and tuck, but...
You predicted a 0-0 in that
did
one,
I?
Sam.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be that type of game. However, to start with the consistency that they've had after surviving on final day, if memory serves me right,
Bristol City,
after sleepwalking into trouble, Paul Heckingbottom and his team should be feeling great at the moment because they've already upset the odds by sticking themselves in a great position after the opening few weeks.
Brilliant stuff. Great to see you, Sam. Guys, it is the first 3-game week in the EFL Championship this season. So next week, there is no Championship Check-In podcast. We do 2 prediction show. And then what we'll do, because there's then an international break, maybe we'll do more like sort of 45, 50 minutes with Sam, kind of rounding up the past. It'll be a 5-game block and we'll see where we sit. But as Sam will testify, it's like being in a washing machine in these blooming 3-game weeks. You try and film something and then it all just changes. So we will see you for the prediction show to start the 3-game week. That'll be out on Wednesday. And then there'll be another 2 and then we'll catch up properly with Sam after the 3-game week's completed and into the international break. Thank you for watching. Thumbs up, comment, subscribe. We'll see you for the predictions on Wednesday.